Okay, folks, and it's exactly 4 p.m. here in Costa Rica, and we have Victoria Reynolds, who I consider to be a spiritual Gesara Nasara coach. And I came across one of her videos. I put it in the room to see how you guys were going to react. The reaction was overwhelming, and I sent her an email hoping that she would respond. You never know if they respond or not. Because some of these YouTubers, when you send them an email, they're already on a high horse, but that's not the case with Victoria. She's not on a high horse. She's very grounded. And I want to introduce you to her because she's definitely knows a lot about Nessa Gesara. I've been watching a couple of her videos over the last couple of days because I knew that this interview was going to take place today. Victoria, you're from California, correct?
Yes, I am.
And
well, not originally, but yes, I've been here for
Where are you originally from?
Montana.
Montana. Okay. Another great state. Fantastic. Well, welcome to my call. I want you to talk freely about whatever it is you want to talk about, but we want to definitely stick to Nessa Gesara, what's coming, and sort of try not to put a date on it, but to try and sort of gauge when this is all going to unravel. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation. It's really funny you ask about the date, but I think it's going to unravel. So in complete transparency, I first discovered all of this on 10-10-10.
Interesting.
Yeah. So people are frustrated because they bought their dinar 2 years ago and they can't figure out why it hasn't paid out yet. There are a lot of us who have been sitting on it for a lot longer. So I've been at this for a very long time. The first thing I want to tell people is to not believe all of the hoopla you hear on the internet. I probably get an email every day from somebody saying, this weekend's the weekend, this weekend's the weekend, today is the day, tomorrow's the day. The transaction centers are going to be open next week for level 4. That's all BS. And the reason I'm saying that is because I've been seeing that same content, and I kid you not, every day for the last 11 years. So I don't believe any of it.
Yeah.
I actually stopped following Gesara GCR years ago because I was putting my life on hold for this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that happening with a lot of other people. When is this going to happen? They actually put their lives on hold, waiting for the someday this is going to occur. This is going to occur when enough of us raise our vibration up to be able to receive it. The reason it hasn't occurred yet is because so many people are waiting for something to happen. They're still navigating beliefs of unworthiness. They're still dealing with issues with money, about how money is the root of all evil. As long as we're holding on to all of those lower vibration beliefs, it's actually not going to happen. When it happens is actually up to us. That's what people need to understand. We have to raise our vibration up to be able to receive it, because in complete transparency, what I know, what my spirit guides have shown me is that this new money is coded at a 5D vibration. And it's coded at a 5D vibration specifically to keep it out of the hands of those who have controlled money in the past. So if we want to receive that money, we got to do the internal work to get ourselves into the space of love to even receive it. That's the hard part, I think, for people. That's why it hasn't happened.
Well, you're speaking to a lot of people inside my room, because there's a few people saying, "Oh, it's going to happen next week, and it's going to happen next month," and they throw dates out there. And bless their hearts, I know what they are all waiting. But you're absolutely right. What you're saying, what I'm hearing you say, to raise the vibrations, I completely 100,000% agree with you. What I'm also hearing you say is, Mel, we need to get to the 100th monkey syndrome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Correct?
So here's what I know. I am very, very close to the top of the GCR, and I will know when it's time, and it's not time yet. We've gotten very, very, very close a couple of times, extremely close, to the point where some of the bigger names, and I'm not allowed to mention names, have actually been in Reno to receive the funds, and it hasn't happened. That's how close we've come a couple of times. So one of the things that cracks me up is when these emails go out that say, we've never been this close. I'm like, seriously? Of course we've never been this close. We've been as close as we could possibly get. And then it gets stopped at the very last second for one reason or another. It's up to us energetically to push it over the hump.
I hear you loud and clear. And I hope my people hear her loud and clear. You just heard what she said. That is the idea, because we've actually started so innocently about 4 years ago. Amber and I were lucky enough to accumulate what we believe is going to be the next Bitcoin 5.0 on steroids, XRP. And so with that, we started a small little chat group on WhatsApp, innocently, just 47, 48 people, friends, family, acquaintances, next door neighbors, things like that. And then we got a message from Zuckerberg saying that we're going to watch everything. Everything's going to be recorded. We're going to watch every one of your texts. Every one of your messages is going to be, cataloged, et cetera. We know who you are, that kind of, I'm like, oh, that's not good for me. So with that, he pushed me to start Telegram. I had no idea about Telegram, but it's so much more intuitive. And I'm still learning more as I go. You can never learn everything because it's really very detailed, very entailed. But with that, people are able to search for different kinds of stuff. And so I put in the name of my group is XRP, QFS, Gesara, Nasara. So when people punch in those things, either one or two or all three of them or one individually, I come up in the search. And people and the thing just started to grow organically. Then people realize what we're doing really needs to be done, because we're basically trying to help as many people as possible transition over. And for you guys down below, there's going to be the link to the actual Telegram. We give you the Quantum Financial Systems Manual completely free of charge. It's the most elementary educational videos online. We just put it in a nice little neat package for you, so you don't have to go crazy. It took months and years to do that. And so what we're doing is, because it's such a maze. If you live in New York and you're trying to buy a certain token, it's easier than the guy that lives in New Jersey, for example. And if you live in Montana, it's such a maze that one person can never figure it out unless you're brilliant like my wife. My wife is a computer geek, okay? But the average person out there is not going to be able to figure it out. So when we realized this, I said, hey, we may all have only 110 or 120 IQ, but if we put enough of us in the room and everybody's got a little piece of the puzzle, we're going to figure this darn thing out. And the end game for me is when they, put me in the ground, which will probably be 900 years from now, because that's where I plan on going inside a med bed and extending, my cellular being, okay, to be here for a very long time. They're going to have to chisel on my gravestone because of Mel. We had an extra 100,000 multimillionaires, multi-billionaires, and so on. That's what drives me, because I don't get any pleasure in driving down the street watching people suffer eating out of garbage cans. I want everybody to have some. And that's what drives me, right? I think you're pretty much the same way.
Yeah, I get really frustrated when I see how all of the billionaires out there who don't put their money where their mouths are. They do their, I can't even think of what the right word is. Virtue signaling. That's what I was looking for. They do their virtue signaling, their greenwashing of how concerned they are about the environment and how concerned they are with homelessness, but they don't.
No.
They're just saying that. I'm like, look, until you put your money where your mouths are, I don't believe a thing you have to say.
Absolutely. They're a bunch of liars.
And then we got to take back the planet, because they obviously don't care. They only care about themselves and their friends. They're just blah, 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 blah. It's going to be up to us to actually make a difference in the world, to actually clean up the mess that they made.
And that's what this is all about.
Unless we can get to the point where they are caught with the mess that they've made and their assets are stripped and redistributed. That may very well be the case down the road. But in the meantime, we're the only ones that are going to clean up the mess.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, what we have to do is we have to create the cash flow. We got to keep that cash flow coming in. Forget about the Gesara, Nasara, the RV, the XRP, all the cryptocurrencies that we think are going to manifest. Let it be. At some point, it's going to happen. It looks like it's happening right now. Anybody who's watching this movie understands it's happening right now. But to put a date on it is ludicrous, because if you think the cabal has no more power, you'll be making a big mistake. because the goalpost does move, and it's not because of us, it's more because of them. Because as I was telling her before we hit the record button, you go to bed at night and the level playing field looks like tomorrow is going to be the day. And then you wake up in the morning only to find, 5 new bumps in the road, and it sets us back another 2-3 weeks. And she's been going through this for 11 years. I think she's an authority. So that's where I think, but I think you need to have the cash flow coming in. Don't worry about it. Just buy your favorite investments, leave them alone. When it happens, it happens. It's going to happen soon. I expect within a year or two, has to happen. I think the cabal is losing tremendous power, but they're still here, and they're still affordable force,
Well, I think what I've gotten very clear guidance on is that we're going to be creating a new reality on top of the existing one. So the cabal will continue to exist and all the old systems will exist. We're going to get together and start creating new systems. We're going to create our own communities. We're going to create our own stores. We're going to create our own hospitals. We'll create our own schools. So when it comes to the money, it's really important that we mutually support each other. So rather than giving our money to Amazon, for example, find other small businesses who are part of our community and support them instead.
Exactly.
That's how we continue to create our own systems.
Exactly.
So we have to get really, really clear on, when I buy this particular product, who am I really supporting? Am I supporting the big conglomerates, or am I supporting another small business owner? That's how we create our own economy, by mutually supporting each other. We've got to grasp that idea.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
It might take a couple of days longer to get your product, buying it directly from the manufacturer than from Amazon.
Yeah, but who cares?
Yeah. And the price is actually pretty much the same. Sometimes I use Amazon like Google. So I'll go on to Amazon and look for a product and see the manufacturer, and then I go buy it straight from the manufacturer. The price is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But they give 40% of their profits to Amazon. So
Exactly.
Why not let the small business keep the profits in their own hands?
Yeah. Victoria, I think you might be my sister from another mother. I really do. We're definitely on the same wavelength for sure. In regards to what you know specifically about Gesara and Nesara, I'll let you tell us what you know, and then we'll compare it to what we know, and we might be on the same page as that as well, as far as taxation and all the different things that are going to be a different aspect, total game changer, et cetera. Tell us what you know, Victoria.
Okay, one of the things I just discovered a couple of days ago, and I know that you already know this, and that is that the SWIFT system is defunct.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was just in the last couple of days or last few weeks, but it has been replaced by a new system. What I was told a couple of days ago is that the term QFS is not the term that's going to be used. And I think that's because the cabal is aware of us using that term. I don't know what the new name is yet, however.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've been told, is that it has a new name.
Mm-hmm.
And that gold back has now replaced the old fiat SWIFT system. With Gesara, my understanding is that, well, it's the golden age of humanity, part of the new earth reality, or what I call the love-based reality we are going to be creating on our planet. And that income taxes are gone with it. There might be temporarily a flat sales tax, a federal sales tax. That I've been talking about that for years. What we need is a flat sales tax, because even if you're an illegal alien, you are still contributing into the system. One of the issues we have right now with all of our illegal aliens is they're getting paid under the table, and they're not contributing into the system. Then we have all these billionaires who have all the tax write-offs because they know how to funnel their money through trusts and through foundations. So they pay very little income tax. If we switch out of income tax and into a flat sales tax, everybody pays in. Corporations don't have exemptions. Foundations don't have exemptions. Everybody's paying sales tax. And so the sales tax will be on everything except for used items where sales tax has already been paid. This idea that people pay sales tax on a car a half a dozen times every time it changes hands is completely absurd. And no sales tax on necessities like fresh food. That necessities won't have a tax on them, but everything else will. flat tax, no income taxes. Eventually taxes will completely disappear. But in this interim phase, this transition phase that we're in between the old world and new world, there will still be a sales tax. Because remember, it took hundreds, if not thousands of years for us to get the position that we're in, where our taxes and all of our systems are tax-based. And all of our systems are going to start crumbling. In the meantime, the funding is coming from taxes until we figure out how to replace those systems with, my guidance has been that we won't even have systems anymore. We'll just have community concepts. So the idea of a nationwide taxation system will actually eventually disappear. They're actually not necessary. Most of our taxes actually go into big pockets. It goes into the Federal Reserve and it goes into paying banks. Very little of it actually goes into social services. That's part of the lie that our country is being told, that everybody has to pay their fair share in order to go into social services, but it really doesn't. Very little of it does. A lot of that money goes into feed people's pockets and to pay for all those bureaucrats' jobs that are supposed to be voluntary jobs. All of those jobs, all those positions are all intended to be service to the public. They're actually not intended to be paid jobs, yet so many of our taxes go into paying these people. So that's all going to come to an end. They're all going to be returned to servant leadership positions.
Gotcha. So they're changing the name of the QFS to something else because they know that we're onto it. But whatever name they change, it's still going to have the same characteristics and the same functionality, correct?
Right. Right. It's all running through a secure system. I don't know if it's on blockchain, but it's a secure system where we won't need the bankers anymore. Money will be direct to QFS, direct to us. And that banks will not be able to borrow our money. That's a system that's got to go.
We become our own banks.
We become our own banks.
Bingo.
Now, what my feeling is, I'm actually writing a new book right now called Metatron's Cube, a guidebook for New Earth. I wrote a blueprint for New Earth. I keep changing the subtitle. And he's showing me what New Earth looks like. And so what he was showing me about the new banks is they're actually just vaults. So they're private membership vaults where we will go and we might put our gold and our silver and precious metals and things like that in a safe space, and it's all community owned and community run, but there won't actually be any banks. So the banks don't really need to exist in this new system.
Right. And what do you think about the blockchain? Because it's such an advanced system and no one can change the outcome. Because if all the little boxes, all the little ledgers one ledger doesn't agree, it doesn't accept the transaction, whether it be political, whether it's monetary, whether it's whatever. What do you think of the fact that the technology is what's going to tokenize the gold and the silver and the real estate and everything around us?
Absolutely everything. And not only that, but the new internet is going to be built on blockchain. Our entertainment systems are going to be built on blockchain, so that they can't be infiltrated and so that they can't be controlled by the cabal, that they're actually owned by the people for the people. That's what's so brilliant about blockchain.
But we got to push.
Yeah.
We got to educate.
Yeah, and I have one channel I'm starting a new show in April, and that channel that I'm starting, the entire channel is built on blockchain.
Right. So what happens in essence is this, guys, and I'm here loud and clear. Okay. I'm very passionate about this, if you could tell. I'm hearing her loud and clear. If we don't educate and we don't push and we go away and we give up on the whole entire system of Gesara and Asara, then the bad guys win. There's still a chance here for the bad guys to win. That's why we're pushing like hell, like crazy, to try and get everybody back up to speed. She's absolutely right. Taxes are going to go away. The IRS, the Federal Reserve, the SEC, the FTC, the governments are going to be shrunk down by 95% because of blockchain, and hence the reason why they're fighting with us, because otherwise this thing would have been done. If they would have figured out how to carve it, I've said this 1,999,000 times, if they would have figured out how to carve up a nice piece of the pie for themselves, where the average politician and banker can go from being worth $1 billion to being worth $1 trillion, this goose would have came out of the oven a long time ago. Would you agree with that, Victoria?
Well, okay, that's part of the issue. So a lot of those bureaucrats actually have a lot of that money. So in the beginning, they wanted to push it, but they wanted to push it for ourselves. We, the people, were never supposed to find out about this.
Right.
So they had bought up all this foreign currency and they were going to revalue it to benefit themselves, but word got out. The whole bunch of the little people went up and started buying it. And so then one of the reasons it's actually been held up is because the white hats, if you will, I call them the guardians, because we also have a team of guardians who are not on the planet, let's put it that way, that are assisting us in this process. One of the reasons it's been held up is because they needed to remove everybody from the process who isn't, I don't like to use the word unworthy, but are determined to not be the best people to receive these funds. So, for example, Hillary Clinton was very heavily invested in the GCR. The Pope very heavily invested in the GCR. So all of those people who are not of the best will of the people need to be removed from the system. So every time they test the system, more of these people come out of the woodwork. And so when people ask why it's taking so long, part of it is they test the system. Every time they test it, more of the crooks make themselves known, and then they got to go clean up more of the crooks. And so really, it really is in our best interest that it has taken as long as it has, because we need to remove everybody from the system who would not use that money for the well-being of humanity. So they have to be stripped of their assets or be removed from the process in order for us to receive it and do what's meant to be done with it, which is the highest and greatest good of all life on earth. And the cabal don't have that in mind. We all know that they want to just feed each other's pockets. So they have to get cleaned up out of the system.
Yeah, you cannot launch Gesara and Esra and still have, bad actors in play. You cannot have the Mexican cartel in play. You cannot have ISIS. You got to clean all of this up entirely. There cannot be a crumb left of these bad actors. They all got to go, every single one of them, in order for us to manifest and graduate to what we should have graduated probably 400 years ago. But according to Alex Collier, which I just interviewed, well, I didn't interview him. We did a quick, podcast with Cynthia, who's involved with MedBed. So we're about to be the first ones with a little bit of luck to actually demonstrate to the world that we have the technology.
That's amazing. And the technology does exist. So
yes,
I interviewed someone a couple of weeks ago on my show, and he was talking about the med beds and super soldiers. So he was part of the super soldier program. The dark ETs actually have this, and they've been working with the dark humans, if you will. I use the term people who work in the contrast, people who work in the dark, because the contrast is very real on our planet.
yes,
and it was part of a soul agreement thousands of years ago for us to learn through the contrast. So I don't use any kind of anger or resentment toward it, because it is part of our collective learning experience. But those who work in the contrast have had this medbed technology for ages. They've been using it. So they'll take a kid off the planet and run them through the super soldier program for 20, 30 years. And then they bring them back to the age that they were abducted and bring them right back to where they abducted from. So the kids don't even know they've been abducted, although they're now starting to remember. Now that they're in their 30s, they're starting to have these memories of being abducted as children and this work they did as soldiers. And so that technology exists. It's just a matter of it being utilized here for more benevolent purposes. Let's put it that way. But it sounds to me like you found a way to create it regardless of whether we get it from them or not.
yeah. Well, Michael Jocko comes to mind. Are you familiar with Michael Jocko?
I'm actually meeting him in a couple of days.
No way. Could you tell him I said hello? I follow him.
I will.
Yeah.
Yes, we're both speaking at an event in Sedona next week or over the weekend.
Yeah. And he was a super soldier, and he's had previous past lives on other planets. And you see, the reason why it's so easy to hide this from people, or people don't want to believe it, because the truth is so fantastical. It's like, when you go to see a movie and they show you a med bed, you look at that as science fiction, when in reality, they're selling you science fact, but because you've been conditioned with all the chemicals and the glyphosates and the fluorides and the poisons in the water and the pesticides, herbicides, all of this stuff that clouds your pineal gland so you can't think straight. Okay. And they sell it to you as science fiction, and you believe it as it's only going to be science fiction. It's never going to be science fact, when in fact it was science fact all along.
Right.
And that's the challenge people like you and I have.
Right.
That's
and
the
here's
challenge.
something I find really interesting. So I was talking to my son a couple of months ago. I have two teenagers. I was talking to my son and I said, how I believe that we're building utopia. And he goes, Mom, everybody knows that's not possible. Every movie says the only thing that's possible is a dystopia. And so that's what they're selling us. That this is far out science fiction. And even then it always involves wars and battles. And it's that the utopia is impossible, that even with all that technology, it still involves dystopia. And we know that's not true. We know that's just a narrative they keep feeding us so that we don't create the utopia that I know is possible, that peace on earth, heaven on earth. I know for a fact is possible. And I know for a fact that it's coming. The difference is how long it takes for it to arrive, because it arrives within each one of us, has a lot to do with our own state of mind. Our own state of heart is actually what creates it. So you were talking about the goalpost being moved. It isn't that the goalpost has been moved. It's that there have been more plays put in the game and more timeouts put in the game.
Absolutely.
If you think about a football game, you can't get up and move the goalposts. Those don't move. What changes is how the game is played.
Right. Exactly. So what happens to all these media outlets like CNN and ABC and MSNBC and MSLSD, all these, what happens to these people?
MSLSD. Well, my understanding is that there's going to be so much money flooding the planet that they'll all just be bought out. They will be bought out by the good guys.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stuff that's happened in the world, a lot of people won't even know about, because it's my feeling is it's too much for the delicate hearts of humanity. They won't be able to hear all of it all at once. However, it will continue to be leaked out. Those who run the media companies, yeah, I do think that there will be some justice served.
There has to be, right?
In the same way that occurred with Nuremberg.
Correct.
Trials. I do believe that because people need to understand how close they came to losing everything. Right. One of the reasons it's still being allowed to play out is because enough people haven't woken up yet. A lot of people won't wake up until it gets so bad that they have to wake up.
I always say, charge $12 for a gallon of gasoline and $14 for a gallon of gas and $20 for a dozen eggs, and they'll wake up.
And they'll wake up.
Yeah, they'll understand. They'll understand $20 for 12 eggs is outrageous, and the millennials and all the normies have to wake up.
You have to wake up, and the frustrating thing for me here in California, and watching this, my kids have been swayed by mainstream media and TikTok. Let's put it that way. That oh yeah, Mom, I know gas is going to go up to $8 a gallon. That needs to happen in order to put this thing with Russia to the end. It's always been that expensive in Europe, so there's always this justification. It's over $6 a gallon now here in California.
Wow.
And that just happened over the weekend. So, but people are like, oh, yeah. They're saying like it's no big deal that it goes over $10 a gallon, because that's what it has to happen in order for Russia to be stopped. And it's just baffling to me that they can't even, that's what they're being sold, that this is what's necessary. And so they're not even blinking an eye at it.
Well, Russia is part.
Any other president, people would be freaking out.
Yeah. Russia is part of the Gesara movement.
Right.
They're painting the picture that Russia is the bad guys, Ukraine is the good guys. Nothing, absolutely nothing could be further than the truth.
Right.
It's the other way around. Child trafficking. I've heard from different sources on the internet, and I'm pretty sure that they're pretty accurate at this point, that what happened in Chernobyl was not really as bad as they painted it out to be. And they're using that area that's like the size of New Jersey to do all their child business. Okay. I can't use the word because people will flag us, but you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's very plausible. Okay. That there are many manufacturing labs that are manufacturing things that are going to kill most of us. okay, or make us so sick that we need to be dependent on their petroleum-based drugs for the next 15, 20, 30 years. And while they get richer, because people that have billions of dollars need to make more billions of dollars while they make you more miserable. And that's the play, that's the game that's here. So if you people don't get involved and you don't understand that what's written, we have a website, by the way, inside our Quantum Financial Systems Manual that is so accurate. So it paints a picture of Gesara, 1.1, 2.0, 3.0, and so on, all the way until, hate to tell you, money's going to disappear entirely because technology is going to take over. You're not going to need money. And I keep telling everybody, because the name of our channel is QFS, XRP, Gesara, right? I say QFS, when we realize that the money is going to disappear, is going to stand for something completely different. It's going to be called quantum financial spending. You have to get rid of your money. Imagine, it would suck. You got $1 billion worth of XRP sitting in your account, and next week the money is no longer any good. That would suck to be you, right? So that's where we're headed. And most people have a hard time wrapping their mind around that. So slowly, surely, I'm feeding them this stuff. But a lot of the people that come into our room already know. They're as smart as me, probably even smarter, you know, and they're saying, yes, Mel is right. Yeah. And so we got a lot of people pointing their finger at me saying that I'm right. I know I'm right because I'm the guy that said we're going to have a new world order 30 years ago, and people thought I was crazy. That's why I opted out of having kids. I knew this day would come.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And you know, so my thing is, how do we get people to really understand that Gesara and Esra is real? But we got to push, because if we don't push, it's going to be over.
Well, I think, Gesara, it's definitely real.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And the light does win. If you look at every movie that's ever been made, they always show that light wins, always.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to us how long that takes by the energy and resonance we hold within ourselves.
Correct.
That when we hold any aspect of what's happening on the planet right now in anger and resentment and blame and hatred and all of that, we're actually feeding the darkness. We're actually making it last longer.
Correct. Correct.
And so we have to get out of that all of this fear-based stuff, waiting for a leader, waiting for GCR, waiting for Gesara to happen, hoping somebody else fixes it. We are the ones we've been waiting for, and we are the ones that are going to turn the financial tables. It's up to us. My
people will tell you that I've been preaching as loud as I can, been beating this drum I'm the salmon that swims upstream. Okay. If you listen to all the XRP army, they're talking about, oh, the SEC is screwing us, the lawsuit, the government screwing. We know all of that. Nobody's painting the picture of Gesara and Gesara and tying it into the quantum financial system computers that reside in Reno and the low-lying satellites into XRP. And you watch all the meetings with the CEO of all these, you know, the executives of XRP Ripple, and it's always us at the most important meetings in the world. You don't got to be too bright to understand what this is. Do we know exactly when? No, we don't know, but this is going to happen. But it takes all of us. It takes all of us to push. And so I've been preaching this forever. We got to push. So it's all about, you know, education, not brainwashing. We're giving you, this was written in 1958. I don't know how old you are, but I'm 58. I'm going to be 59. This was written, I was born in 63. So this was written a long time ago, even before I was born. This was written by farmers, correct?
Yeah.
The whole document.
And every time they've attempted to implement it, somebody gets in the way. But see, we're down to the last final plays. So it's like, okay, I'm going to go back to the football analogy again. We're in overtime.
Yeah.
You're only allowed a couple of plays after overtime, and then it's game over. Totally. And that's where we are. We're like in the last play of overtime, but it's up to our consciousness to push it through.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to know about all the problems that are happening in the world, but when all we're doing is focusing on the problems that are happening in the world, our consciousness is actually going to contribute to those problems lasting longer. We have to shift our consciousness. And that means focusing on, okay, what does the world look like that we want to create? When we start focusing on the solutions and we start envisioning the world we want to create, we actually begin to create that. And I tell people all the time, the reason it's called tell-a-vision is because they tell us the vision they want us to create, because they don't have the ability to create. Human beings have the ability to create just by our vision. So we have to stop envisioning the world they're telling us. They tell us what their plan is. Great. Thanks for telling us your plan. We're not going to create it for you. We're going to put all of our vision over here on the world we want to create and start creating it.
And it's not about Donald Trump.
Their vision will completely fall apart.
Yeah, and it's not just about Donald Trump coming back. What we're in right now
we
calls.
Can't wait for him to come back. This is part of the problem.
We got to become miniature Donald Trumps. We got to become miniature Donald Trumps. We got to rise up leadership. I keep telling, because these people think that I'm here because Mel needs to become famous. No. I want people in my room to learn how to sing the song and start their own Telegram group, start their own YouTube channel, and then they can interview me and I can interview and I can help you grow and you can help me grow. And together we're going to divide and conquer and sing the song that's got the 17 dots until people get it.
Absolutely. And the reason people are looking at it that way is because they're only looking at it from old world mentality. The old world mentality is compete, control, conquer. It's all fear-based. This new reality we're creating is love-based. And in a love-based reality, it's all about cooperation. I tell people all the time, we have to figure out how to cooperate. We all have to find a leader within ourselves, and then we teach other people how to be the leader within themselves. That's what it's required. We can't wait around for a leader to do it for us. It's in every one of us. We have to learn how to be the leaders of our own lives and then help others be the leaders in their lives. We all go out. We got to lock arms, create. I use play on word all the time. So we have to lock arms. We're creating our own army by locking arms. There's the only weapons we need are the sword of truth and the armor of love.
Absolutely.
And our arms working arm in arm.
Absolutely.
When we do that, we are unstoppable. There are so many more of us than there are of them. And we need to remember how powerful we are as unified voices and unified armies, that is armies of light and armies of love. And we just start creating new reality. We don't have to wait for them to do it for us.
Yeah, exactly. And they're so afraid of us because they know that.
They're terrified of us.
They know that we are genetic royalty. They know that we can go to 5th, 6th density very quickly under the right circumstances. And they know that. And they fear that the most. They can't.
They don't have the capacity to get out of 3D.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they don't have the hearts to be able to get out of 3D. They've lost their hearts.
We're going to see a lot of wealth being created out of this. I think we're going to see the most amazing philanthropy, real philanthropy, not the philanthropy that they create. You know what they have? They have, Victoria, you know what they do? And I'm sure you're going to agree with me. All the rich billionaires and gazillionaires of the world, they set up what's called a 501c3 under some charity that they're going to give some money to some orphanage or some bullshit story. They got maybe some clerical people that they pay a couple of $1,000s a week. They got a couple of $1,000s a month worth of lights and insurance and rent and what have you. And then they take and they donate this little crumb. And then they take the money that they earned, they donate it to the charity that they own. They pay zero in taxes on that, on the money that they donate to their own charity. So they're basically taking the money out of their left pocket and putting it in their right pocket, and they're laughing at us.
Yes. Yeah. And they run it through foundations. So foundations are an excellent idea because of the taxes of the family foundations, right? Then they basically use them for money laundering. They just give money back and forth between foundations, and then it's tax-free.
Wow.
I mean, and so what we're going to be doing is using their systems on our behalf, using their systems to actually benefit humanity.
Right.
And which they haven't been. So what I've seen happens is a lot of people have a brilliant idea for a nonprofit, and then they get these big giant companies swoop in and take over. Right.
Exactly.
And I've seen this with small companies where like, well, we got most of our funding from such and such foundation, so we have to do business the way they tell us to do. Where they get their big money from.
Sure.
So a lot of these smaller nonprofits have gotten sucked in by the cabal.
Absolutely. I got to ask you the question. Did you buy XRP yet?
Not yet. I did receive your email, but I haven't bought it yet.
I got to get you on. See, if you meet me, you're going to have to buy XRP. Michael Jocko, by the way, owns XRP. So does Nino Rodriguez, all of that whole crew.
Okay.
Okay. They all own XRP because they know. But when you do buy it, let me know. I don't know if you're a big investor, small investor. If you're a big investor, call me privately and I'll send you to my broker in the UK. That's where the big boys go shopping. If you're a smaller investor, we got ways around that as well. We'll get you your XRP. Even if you own a couple of thousand, it's going to be life-changing. But here's what I want to tell you. XRP was designed after Bitcoin. Okay, XRP is really the true Bitcoin 5.0, and because it used to be in the number 2 position. It was Bitcoin, XRP, and Ethereum 4 years ago. That was us. But because they realized that, once people find out the utility of this thing and the fact that you could build, federated side chains, you could build NFTs, you could build other coins on it. It moves money at the speed of light accurately, never made a mistake. It could be amped up to 3.5 trillion transactions per second. We can't have that, because if people find out about that, they're all going to invest, because they went to the banks and the banks said, no, go away. We're going to create our own Ripple. When they realized that the secret sauce recipe was so difficult and that anybody who was anybody in the talent pool was already working for Ripple, they went back and said, hey, maybe we can get into each other's good graces. Okay, they're done. You said it perfectly. They are done. Tim Draper says this. Robert Kiyosaki says this. I say this. And now she says this. Okay. Yeah, it might take 3, 4, 5 years for them to completely vanish, but they're going to vanish.
Take a few years.
Yeah, they're going to vanish. Okay. And this is the struggle. I want to thank you for coming. I want to do this with you again. I want to do like a weekly special with you, because I think you're special.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to be here. I wanted to say one more quick thing. The reason they won't be around is that they have built their foundation on quicksand.
Absolutely.
And to use their own words, it's not sustainable.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Victoria, it was a pleasure having you. I would love to do another interview with you. I think I might want to maybe do an interview with you and maybe set up a separate panel, like, maybe, I don't know if you know who Kerry Cassidy is. Are you familiar with Kerry? You are. Have you ever done an interview with her?
I haven't.
I'm gonna talk to Kerry, see if we could do like a trio. I think that would be fantastic, because you got a wealth of knowledge, and I'm studying you. I don't go at everybody, but if I say, hey, this person looks like he's on the same page, I'm going to approach you. And I approach you. I'm glad I did, because if as they say, the answer is always no unless you ask.
Right.
So, and I'm glad that you were able to get to my email, and I'm happy that we made this happen.
Likewise. Thank you for inviting me to be here. This has
Let's
been a pleasure.
do it again. I'm going to figure out how to send this to you. If you wanted us to put it in a Dropbox and you could just download it and put it directly onto your YouTube, you could do that as well.
Okay.
All right.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, we'll communicate. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.